Imagine 2 points of light moving across a dark screen, over a grid of thin lines intersecting at different angles. Each point represents a train weighing more than 400 tons, traveling at speeds greater than any racing car on an open road. The 2 points follow paths that, at some stage, will occupy the same section of the grid. Neither engineer, inside their cab, can see the other train. The curve between them is sharp, surrounded by trees and rock formation. Even if they could see each other, it would already be too late. A 5,000-ton train traveling at 100 kilometers per hour needs more than 1 kilometer to stop. Under ideal conditions, the human eye can identify obstacles at less than 800 meters. The mathematics is unforgiving. By the time one train appears on the other's horizon, the collision has already been physically determined. And yet, over nearly 2 centuries of railway operation, encounters like this have become statistically rare. The reason does not lie with the engineer. It lies in an invisible network that watches every centimeter of track. This network detects the presence of trains, divides the railway into controlled sections, and automatically prevents 2 trains from receiving permission to occupy the same space. Behind colored signals, electrical circuits, and block systems lies a simple logic designed to act long before the danger can be seen from the cab. To understand how a railway prevents a collision before the engineers even become aware of the risk, we need to follow the electrical signal that travels through the rails and turns the track itself into a surveillance system. At the beginning of the 19th century, traveling by train was one of the most dangerous activities an ordinary citizen could choose. It was an era with no national regulations governing rail traffic. Each railway company operated under its own rules, with approximate timetables and no communication between distant stations. Coordination depended on manually synchronized mechanical clocks, occasional telegrams, and the memory of dispatchers. When 2 trains needed to share the same track while traveling in opposite directions, the arrangement was settled according to the departure schedule and hope. On June 15, 1853, in Valley Falls, Rhode Island, in the United States, 2 Providence and Worcester Railroad trains collided head-on because one engineer delayed his departure by a few minutes, while the other, disregarding the safer siding, continued forward. 14 people were killed. The accident became known as the first major documented railway disaster in American history and exposed the complete vulnerability of a system based on words printed in a timetable. For decades, the predominant method of preventing collisions was the time interval system. After a train passed through a station, the next could be dispatched only after a fixed interval, usually between 10 and 15 minutes. If the first train broke down between stations, the second would travel directly toward it, without any warning. On August 20th, 1864, on the line between London and Brighton in England, this exact scenario unfolded. A passenger train stopped because of a mechanical failure was struck by another train, killing 23 people and injuring more than 170. It was precisely this kind of tragedy that led the American engineer William Robinson to present, in 1872, in Kinswa, Pennsylvania, the first practical demonstration of an entirely new system. Instead of relying on time, telegraphic communication, or human observation, his invention used the rails themselves as electrical conductors to detect the presence of a train on a particular section of track. At that moment, the railway ceased to be a sequence of timetables and became a physical network of continuous information. All modern collision prevention engineering rests on a simple idea, although it is largely invisible to anyone looking at a railway from the outside. The track is not one uninterrupted line stretching freely between 2 stations. In reality, it is divided into invisible segments, known as blocks or block sections. Each block has a predetermined length, normally between 500 meters and 3 kilometers, depending on the maximum speed permitted on that section and the density of traffic. The system's fundamental rule is straightforward. Only one train may occupy a block at a time. If a block is occupied, every train attempting to enter it will be stopped by red signals and, in more modern systems, by enforced automatic braking. To determine whether a block is occupied, railway engineering has used a principle known as the track circuit since Robinson's invention. The concept is elegant in its simplicity. The two parallel rails forming the track are electrically insulated at the ends of each block and connected at one end to a low-voltage power source, usually between 2 and 12 volts. At the other end, an electromagnetic relay continuously receives that current. While there is no train on the section, the current flows from one rail to the other through the relay, keeping it energized and the signal green. When a train enters the block, its metal wheels and axles short-circuit the two rails. The current begins flowing through the path of least resistance, the axle itself, and the relay at the end of the block loses power. The signal immediately changes to red. This system has one decisive property, known to engineers as fail-safe operation. If a cable breaks, the power supply fails, a rail cracks, or rain floods the circuit, the result is always the same. The relay loses power, and the signal assumes the most restrictive possible state, indicating that the block is occupied. In other words, any system failure produces the same effect as the presence of a real train. When faced with uncertainty, the railway always chooses to stop everything rather than continue forward. The figures involved in this engineering reveal the gravity of that decision. A typical freight train weighing 5,000 tons and traveling at 80 kilometers per hour needs approximately 1 kilometer and 200 meters to stop completely under dry conditions. A high-speed train, such as Japan's Shinkansen or France's TGV, traveling at 300 kilometers per hour, requires around 3.5 kilometers of braking distance. Even on a clear day, the human eye can rarely identify obstacles more than 800 meters away along a straight section of track. On curves or in fog, that range falls to less than 100 meters. The mathematical conclusion is unavoidable. If an engineer can see a train ahead, the train is usually already inside its minimum braking zone. How, then, can railways operate safely at such high speeds on shared tracks? The answer began to take shape when engineers understood that signaling could not be limited to the immediately adjacent block. An engineer approaching a red signal from 200 meters away at 160 kilometers per hour cannot stop in time. The solution adopted universally was cascading signal logic. Before each block, an indication signal communicates not only the state of the next block, but also the condition of the blocks beyond it. Green means that at least the next two blocks are clear. Yellow means that the next block is clear, but the one beyond it is occupied, requiring a reduction in speed. Red means a mandatory stop. This arrangement allows the engineer to begin braking well in advance, even without physically seeing the obstacle. Engineering transforms every kilometer of track into an ordered sequence of advance information, giving the human operator a layer of foresight that does not depend on visibility. Beginning in the middle of the 20th century, this system was supplemented by an additional layer of protection capable of acting without any intervention from the engineer, known as automatic train protection, or ATP. ATP functions as a kind of parallel brain. Sensors along the track, known as balises, or Eurobalises in the European ETCS standard, transmit information to the train about the maximum permitted speed, the distance to the next signal, and the condition of the section ahead. If the engineer exceeds the permitted speed, passes a red signal, or simply fails to respond to an audible warning, the onboard computer automatically applies the brakes. In extreme cases, the braking application is full and irreversible until the train comes to a complete stop. The reliability of this system was bought with blood. On October 15, 1988, at Clapham Junction Station in London, 3 trains collided in succession because of a wiring fault in a newly installed signaling relay. 35 people were killed and 500 were injured. The investigation revealed that a loose wire had been left in contact with another during renovation work, maintaining an electrical supply that falsely indicated the block was clear when the section was occupied. The accident completely changed British standards for installing and testing signaling circuits, requiring redundant checks for every connection. On October 5, 1999, in the same country, an engineer passed a red signal at Ladbroke Grove. 31 people were killed. From that point onward, the United Kingdom accelerated the deployment of ATP across its network, a process that would take more than 2 decades to complete. The traditional track circuit, despite its effectiveness, has limitations. It depends on good electrical conductivity between the wheels and rails, which can be compromised by rust, fallen leaves, ice, or oil. To overcome this weakness, modern railways adopted a technology known as axle counting. The principle is different. At each end of a block, inductive sensors detect the passage of every individual axle on the train. If 50 axles enter a block, the system declares that section clear only after the same 50 axles have been detected leaving at the other end. The accounting is exact and independent of track condition. Modern railway networks combine both methods on different sections, supervised from operations control centers, where dozens of operators monitor the positions of hundreds of trains simultaneously on enormous screens. On Japan's high-speed railway, known as the Shinkansen, and in operation since 1964, this system has achieved statistical levels approaching perfection. Over nearly 6 decades of operation, carrying more than 10 billion passengers, no passenger has died in a train collision or derailment during regular service. The number of operational deaths caused by block system failures remains, to this day, 0. The scale of global railway operations is vast. The world's rail network contains around 1,300,000 kilometers of track in use. The European Union alone operates more than 200,000 kilometers under unified electronic signaling standards, with an ongoing transition to the ERTMS system, designed to standardize communication between trains and control centers across every country in the bloc. This standard replaces dozens of incompatible national systems that remained in use until the 1990s, some of which still required international trains to stop at borders to change locomotives or onboard equipment. But what no one expected, while developing all these circuits, counters, and computers, was that the greatest vulnerability of the system would still be the human being, even in the 21st century. There is, however, one detail rarely mentioned outside technical railway accident reports. In almost every major disaster recorded over the past 3 decades, the automated system worked exactly as intended. The failure came from the decision to switch it off. On February 9, 2016, in northern Germany, 2 regional trains collided head-on between Bad Aibling and Kolbermoor in Bavaria. 12 people were killed, 85 were injured. The investigation revealed that the dispatcher responsible for the section had manually disabled the automatic block system to allow a delayed train to proceed. He believed he could manage the crossing visually, but failed to communicate the situation to the train approaching from the opposite direction. Every manual authorization required a specific sequence of commands, designed so the system could be bypassed only under truly exceptional circumstances. That day, the procedure was carried out incorrectly. No matter how sophisticated, the engineering had not been designed to withstand a deliberate sequence of incorrect commands issued by a legitimate human authority. On July 24, 2013, in Santiago de Compostela, Spain, a high-speed train derailed on a curve designed for 80 kilometers per hour while traveling at 179. 79 people were killed. The investigation found that the curve lay inside a transition zone between 2 signaling systems. The older system still operating on that section had no automatic speed control. The newer system, designed to enforce the reduction, was installed on the kilometers ahead. While answering a mobile phone call, the engineer lost track of his exact position. Human gaps exist even in technological systems that appear highly redundant. Railway engineering has spent 150 years preventing 2 trains from entering the same section. It must now devote the same effort to preventing individual human decisions from overriding the protections built throughout that entire period. The modern railway is, in essence, a network of automated trust. Trains do not avoid each other because someone sees them in time. They remain safe because an invisible web of sensors, electrical circuits, signals, and onboard computers communicates continuously in milliseconds, ensuring that each block of track is occupied by only one train. We are accustomed to thinking of safety as individual attention. Over nearly 2 centuries, railway engineering has discovered that real safety depends on delegating vigilance to a system that never sleeps, never blinks, and never forgets. The engineer has ceased to be the track's final guardian and has become the final interpreter of a choreography larger than any one person. And yet, every accident reminds us that technology is only as safe as the discipline with which its instructions are respected. A train never collides simply because another train suddenly appeared. When 2 trains meet, it is because, at some point, someone or something believed the system designed specifically to prevent that encounter could be bypassed. If you enjoy discovering how invisible systems prevent major disasters, leave a like and subscribe to the channel to follow the upcoming documentaries. And leave a comment. Had you ever imagined that the rails themselves help prevent a collision?